right. Is that credits? I got the achievement. The journey ends. Yep. Wow, that's credits. I was kind of expecting credits today, but I kind of wasn't expecting credits today. Ori and the Blind Forest, conquered. Music's probably mega loud. There is nothing that I can do about it. Yeah. So, I mentioned when I first started that this game was probably going to be outside of my comfort zone. And I think it was. It was a little bit of a struggle for me. I'm not the most adept platformer person. So trying to maneuver through some of the challenges definitely caused me to, I guess, relearn how to be a platformer. And I think that was probably the toughest part for me, was trying to bring back my Mario skills and various other platform games that I've played. My overall thoughts on the game? I think the game is good. I think the game has a really nice the term that immediately came to mind was like a tightness to it, but that's not really the term I want to use. There's a really nice tuning to this game where it feels like a lot of the scenarios that you're put into, you quickly run out of options of what you can and can't do just by looking around and by trying some very simple things like seeing if you can jump this high or seeing if you can go this amount of distance. And I think that was actually a really cool thing, because there were several puzzles where I was like, all right, I'm going to try to do this puzzle this way, and it's going to be so clever and it's going to be so amazing. But it just turned out I was just like pixels short of being able to do it, because that was the absolute limit that I could have gone. And that kind of stuff is kind of cool to see. It's just like, yeah, a game tester probably did this and they're like, yeah, we don't want you to do that, so we're just gonna move this little asset here just over a half an inch just so that you can barely not reach it. And that kind of stuff made me happy. I think when I think about this game, I don't necessarily resonate with it the most. I'm not much of a platformer person, so while I did find a lot of enjoyment from the gameplay, I didn't necessarily feel like I was playing something that makes me want to play more platformer games. And I think that's probably where the crux of my my feelings of the game are. I really do like how the game presents itself. I really like the visuals. I think the visuals are probably the thing that I enjoy the most. And then there's some really, really great music in this as well. But I think maybe if I just liked platformers more, or maybe if I played more platformers, I might enjoy the gameplay a little bit more. There were some sections where I even got stuck and I wasn't even sure how to progress. And I think one of the great things about some of the great platformers out there is they don't necessarily tell you how to do everything, but they present you with scenarios where you learn how to use the new tools that are given to you. And that part that I got stuck, I really felt like I didn't learn how to overcome that challenge. I just accidentally stumbled upon it after what felt like 30 minutes or 45 minutes of just trying to figure out what I was missing. I think the story was interesting. It was a nice little bit of a twist there at the end. I was totally expecting us to be the bad guys. And, I mean, in actuality, we weren't ruled out as the bad guys, but it does kind of feel like we're the bad guys in this game. And I always applaud games that take that approach because, being the good guy all the time is not always great. And, I'm sure we are the good guys in this game, but I felt like there was a little bit of nebulousness in there. Other than that, I don't think the story, there's not much, to the story. There's what feels like a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs of story to go through. It's very light. It's like a visual storytelling type of thing. More of a movie with no dialogue than a narrative, I suppose, like a written narrative. When it comes to gameplay mechanics and design, I really, really, really liked a lot of the puzzle-ish elements when it came to the platforming. I really liked how it stretched my thought process of how to overcome a challenge based off of the tools that I have been given. And I think the main tools that they give you, I think they do a pretty decent job putting you in scenarios where you need to learn how to use them in basic ways and then use them in advanced ways. Specifically, the bash move where, you jump in the air and you grab a projectile or an enemy and then you can, rotate what direction you want to go and throw the enemy. I think that move was probably my favorite. It opens up so many really amazing scenarios, and it adds so much complexity to what kind of puzzles and what kind of platforming challenges you can present. There was that one section where there was in the, I want to say the wind area, there was that destructible thing above me, and I was trying to juggle enemies and projectiles up to see if they would break it from below. And the fact that that was even an option was really cool. Turned out that you can't really do that, or at least I can't really do that reliably, and you can't do that at all with projectiles, but it might be possible with enemies. I don't know, but enemies don't break platforms, it seems, so there's that. I would suppose I like the discoverability of all of the upgrades, as far as like life upgrades and mana upgrades. I think that was cool. I like that there wasn't a lot of mandatory backtracking. I'm not much of a backtracking person, and so it was nice to more or less go from one new place to another new place, and I didn't have to go into a ton of places in between all the time, or I didn't have to spend a lot of time there. It was just like, okay, I'm just, walking through, open this door, and now I'm in this brand new place. Unless, I guess, you don't use the teleport, which I don't think I use that often. Maybe like 2 times, 3 times, maybe. When it came to the combat, I think the combat was probably where I struggled the most, and I would arguably say is potentially one of the weaker elements. In a game that doesn't have any boss fights, there's a little bit of curiosity as to why there are enemies that feel like you need to kill those enemies in order to progress. I think this game would have done a great job not having the ability to kill enemies and just focusing on using your abilities. Well, not having like that spirit flame thing to attack enemies and deal damage, but using your other tools like Bash, for example, to navigate places or to move enemies out of the way or into certain spots or positions. I think that would have been more engaging for me. I actually do think that the combat probably detracted from the game for me as a whole, but it wasn't like a large part of the game or anything like that. So, you know, there's that. Trying to think. I don't have my thoughts written down for this. This is all off the dome. When it comes to like the music and whatnot, as I mentioned, I do like the music for this. If I don't already have it on my list of OSTs to listen to, and something I'm going to listen to, I don't think it's necessarily going to be revolutionary for me outside of the game, but I think it really does fit the moments of the game. And like this title screen music, I dig this. You know, I like it. It's nice and calm and soothing. It from having finished the game, it feels like an Ori and the Blind Forest kind of track. You know, it doesn't stand out in a negative way. There was a little bit of voice acting, but it was just kind of like mumbo jumbo from what I heard. But it was interesting, I guess, you know, for the little bits that you get to hear of it. As mentioned, the graphics are incredible. The look of this game is wonderful. The aesthetics are wonderful. The enemies and just overall design of how everything is made up is quite nice to look at, even if some of them are suckafoos. I guess if the developer is watching, I think this is a mighty fine game. You know, it's definitely outside of my comfort zone. As mentioned, I am not the biggest platformer fan, but you know, I was curious. You know, I bought it on sale, and I was like, you know, everybody thinks Ori and the Blind Forest is a good game, so it's short enough that I should be able to knock it out and at least see if I like it. And at the end of the day, I do like it. It does put me in an uncomfortable position because I'm not used to platformers and whatnot, and you know, it did have its moments of maybe not typical platformer elements, but you know, elements that you probably wouldn't want to see or be a part of, such as being chased by that bird and trying to figure out how to progress that doesn't involve trial and error dying. But I digress. The game is great. I don't necessarily think this is going to reinvigorate any interest in playing more platformer games, but I don't regret playing Ori and the Blind Forest. And there's a small bit of curiosity as to where the sequel goes from here as far as a gameplay perspective. Story, I'm not 100% interested, but at the same time, I don't think I go to platformers for story. I think I go for platformers for the gameplay. And I think the gameplay succeeds for this, so my interest in Will of the Wisps is present. So I might check that out someday in the future. But that's going to wrap it up for me. As mention my overall thoughts. I like the game. I think the game is a really good game, and yeah, that's probably where everything goes. So, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, for something. I don't know yet. So, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Peace.